Hi, welcome to Turn Your Classroom into a Museum by using object-based learning and mini museum posters. My name is Christy King and I'm an ESOL and Spanish teacher at the Museum School in Decatur, Georgia.
And hi, I'm Dawn Ashberger. I am a STEM teacher at the Museum School in Decatur, Georgia. The goals of museums are to bring communities together. They serve as hubs for interaction and innovation. They help people learn from the past and they educate future generations. They also create experiences for students. How can we bring our students into that mindset of interacting with their community or creating something that can interact with their community? One way we can do that is through object-based learning. Object-based learning is a pedagogical approach that is a core to many museum experiences. It allows students to get up and close and personal to objects and artifacts and really promote deep critical thinking about an object. It's also called slow looking in museum environments. It encourages students to closely look at an object more than they usually do when they're just walking through a museum exhibit. I thought that we might go through and do the See, Think, Wonder activity. So See, Think, Wonder is from Harvard's Project Zero thinking routines. It's one of the thinking routines that students can use when they're doing slow looking or object-based learning. So you'll stop, put up the picture, ask the students, what do they see? And so students might come up with different things about like, oh, I see license plates from different places. Try and guide them into thinking, okay, what other things do you see? What colors do you see? What are the concrete examples of different things they can see? Not just inferring what they do see. And then after that, you'll ask the students, what do they think? What do they think is going on in this picture? Or what do you think is going on with the object? And then at the end, you're going to ask them, what do you wonder? What do you wonder? I wonder who. I wonder what. I wonder how. I wonder if. So after that, you'll go back in and then you will give them all the information about the picture. So for this specific picture, it is an art installation by an artist named Mike Wilkins in 1987. It is featured in the Smithsonian Museum of American Art. It is a collection of license plates from 50 states, including District of Columbia. And on their own, they do not make sense. They don't put anything together. But when you lay them out alphabetically with the different license plates, they create the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. And so that could be a hook and a jumping off point for your lesson.
So we want you to take a moment to stop and think, what makes an exhibit memorable? Think back to your favorite museum experiences, the museum exhibits that really capture your attention and have stuck with you. And what was it about those exhibits that made them memorable for you? Was it a connection with your life? Was it a connection to something that you already had an interest in? Or was it something brand new? So this is an activity we would guide our students in doing so that when they are trying to develop their own mini museum exhibit, they can be thinking, what could I do to capture the attention of the person or the people coming to see my poster? How can it lend itself to being a lasting impression that really makes them want to learn more about the artifact or the objects that our students have chosen? What is an exhibit? So the act of displaying information and allowing people to learn from it is an important thing for students to really think through. We share with students that this is a way of communicating stories. It also allows the author of the exhibit to show an interpretation of the artifacts, while also leaving it a little open-ended for the perceiver to interpret things. This is one of the highlights of object-based learning and of doing many museum exhibits, is giving students this choice and voice.
So that leads into the mini museum exhibit posters. So I was thinking that this would be something that could travel to different locations, could be put around the school, could be used year after year, could be just kind of like a display that is changed out over time. So the students are creating an exhibit, they're creating an exhibit title, they're doing an exhibit description. And so some of these features, like the 75 to 100 words, these things can be interchanged and they can be differentiated with your students. They're given 4 to 5 pictures of artifacts that they find. And then labels that are just described between 30 to 50 words each. Again, that can be differentiated for your students. And then a question or statement for your audience, something that Christy pointed out that can draw the audience in, something that can leave like a lasting impression, quote about the topic that they are researching.
So here I'm showing you an example of how we did this in Spanish class. For the approach with a world language class, depending on the language level of your students, you might not be able to go in as much detail. In Spanish, we used this as a way for students to delve deeper into target culture. Students watched some videos that students made in Spanish-speaking countries and looked for objects that were similar, familiar, and things that were used on a daily basis, and how they could be held up as a way of comparing and contrasting their own daily lives. So this student chose to do school lunch, and this is just the very beginning of her poster, showing the differences between a typical lunch in the United States and a typical school lunch in Bolivia. A couple other students, one of them decided to do differences in hair and hair products between the US and Colombia, and then gave some interesting facts about braiding and the importance of braiding with Afro-Colombian people in Colombia. Also, another student compared squirt that's made in the United States versus squirt that's made in Panama, and asks questions such as why it tastes better in his opinion from Panama, and is it due to the cane sugar, and is that a direction that drinks in the United States should move to.
So the beauty of the mini museum exhibit framework is that you can present it with any kind of curriculum connection that you need. So for example, this one is through my robotics class in 7th and 8th grade. And so the students were tasked with finding examples of robots in the real world and create a mini museum document that can be displayed. So the Smithsonian Learning Lab is a website that has all the Smithsonian artifacts and objects digitally located. You can create your own collection and share that with your students. Another way to give your students access to objects and different experiences, if you're not able to go to a museum and do the slow looking, is by doing museum tours. So there is a link document with different museum links through there. So you can go through Google Arts and Culture. They have a ton of different artifacts, objects, and different things that you can use in your classroom. Even the Smithsonian's, you can basically walk through the rooms and you can dig a little bit deeper and look at the artifacts that are in each of the different rooms. So if you're searching for objects, these are great places to get started.
We will be sharing a bunch of resources with you that you can access through one of the codes that's provided for you. Of course, all the links, like Dawn said, will be available to you, so you can check out these really awesome resources that can help, and it will just open up a lot of different options for you, no matter what you teach, no matter what subject area you are in. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.